Okay, I am three boys and girls. We have a simple example. This is very similar to number 12. Actually, number 12 for real had two little typos with the sign there and the number there, but this is a much better example for you because it's a little bit more varied. And what I mean by that will become clear shortly. This is a third degree polynomial, so it's one that potentially is going to go like that. It could have three zeros. We don't know that for sure. It could possibly go like this. But anytime we have a polynomial with an odd degree, we know it's always going to have at least one real solution, because there's no way the right hand can go up and the left hand can go down, or vice versa, if it doesn't cross at least once the horizontal axis. So you always know you'll find one real solution if it's an odd number for your degree. Okay, so looking at this, there's nothing obvious we can do. There's no x in every term that we can factor out. So what I'd like you to do is put it on your calculator. And if you put it on to graph this, I'm going to come around here and show you on screen. You are going to get something, let's see if I can show that properly, like that. You're going to get a graph that's like this. And then for us to find the zeros, right, either there or there or there, we can use the second and trace button, which will take us to the calculate menu. And then we go to the zero function, so I can go down to 0 and then hit enter, or just press number 2. And then it wants a left hand bound, that's what it says there. So if I try to find this 0 here, I'm on the left hand side of it, the cursor's above it. So I hit enter right there, just press the enter button, and then I'm going to go arrow over until it's below it, and I can tell when this changes to a negative sign there, from positive to negative. I hit enter again, and I see these two pinchy arrows right there, my 0 somewhere between that. When I hit enter again, I get a decimal. It's 0.26259518. Okay? Well, that is clearly not a nice round whole number. I'm looking for a whole number, so I'm going to do this again. To save time, if I do this one, I will find out it's -1. If I do this one, I'll find another decimal. Okay? So the -1, it shows exactly -1. That's my major hint. So I can go on to phase 2. All right? Phase 2, I'm going to do that polynomial long division. If I know that -1 has is a 0, I can divide out the factor x plus 1 that will go into that, because, as we know, it's going to be the opposite. When is this 0? This is 0 when I plug in a -1. So I'm going to divide this into my 6x cubed. All right? So just like we did before, I'm going to write this 6x cubed minus 7x squared minus 10x plus 3. If there was a gap, I'd put in a placeholder there with a 0, but there are no gaps. Now I ask myself, what am I going to multiply x by to give me 6x cubed? 6x squared is the answer, and I must multiply this to each of these. And I do that, and I get exactly what I had before, and that's by design, but then plus 6x squared. Okay? So just multiply it carefully, and then draw a line, and I'd say change the sign and add. Fewer mistakes. -7 plus a -6 is -13x squared. If we've done this correctly, this will work out perfectly. So let's see if that happens. What do I multiply x by to be -13x squared? Well, -13x times x will give me -13x squared. Multiply -13 times on +1. Oops, sorry, bring down the -10x. Can't forget that. Then when I multiply this by 1, I get -13x. Change the signs and add. Plus, plus, negative and positive cancel as always, and this becomes 3x. Bring down the plus 3, and I think I'm looking good. I have to multiply x by plus 3, and I get 3x plus 3, and I should always get 0. So I can now write this in factored form. This times this factor, x plus 1, is what this polynomial will be when I take that out. This now I can put into my quadratic formula. A is 6, B is -13, and C is +3. So you smack that with quad form, and you'll get your two exact answers, and you can write them in radical form. All right? So just to do that super fast, I guess it's worth doing Minus a minus 13 is 13 plus or minus the square root of 169 when I square 13 minus 4 times 6 times 3, and that's all over 12. Okay, that's what my x's are going to be equal to. Well, if I clean that up a little bit, it's going to be 13 plus or minus, that is 24 times 3 is 72. 72 taken away from 169 is 97, so radical 97 over 12. Okay, so it's going to be 13 twelfths plus or minus the square root of 97 over 12. Okay, so I could take a calculator. If you remember that original decimal 0 I found when I zoomed in on it was, according to this, x was equal to 0.26259,518. This is a little bit more than 1, so if I'm going to subtract that, let's try that. I quit out of it, and I type in 13 divided by 12. I hit enter, and then I'm going to subtract the square root of 97, and then divided, oops, I think I needed a parentheses. I'm going to go back and put a parentheses. Parentheses, and then the square root of 97, and then divided by 12 also. And I hope my calculator is going to cooperate, and it gives me an arrow, and that's because I've got some little crazy character, and we'll see. Whoop, it doesn't like something here. I'm going to start over, okay? This is always good. So I'm going to do 13 plus the square root of 97. And then I'm going to divide that by 12. That's a little bit easier. So you might have some calculator issues too. And that gives me 1.9. That's my plus. And now 13 minus the square root of 97. And I'm going to divide that by 12. And I get, guess what, 0.26259518. Okay, so you'll see that that is the exact same decimal that I got right here is when I did the minus version of this right here. So the difference is that this is exact. That is the exact answer, and this is only an approximate decimal. And there are many times when we want the exact. And our calculator can get us very, very close, but only by dividing and then using the quadratic formula can we get the exact one. All right? So use a combination of calculator skills and algebra skills to solve those preceding problems. If you can find them all in your calculator, at least show how they foil together to make that product. Good luck.